Hey there, CineMaster fans. Hope you're ready for some movie magic. Let's dive right in. Our movie begins with Rose, who works as an assistant to a renowned fashion designer named Gunther. That day, Rose arrives late to work, and Gunther embarrasses her in front of her colleagues. Rose explains her situation, saying she almost had a major accident on the way, but Gunther remains indifferent, showing that he is a very strict person who prioritizes work and punctuality above all else. He embarrasses her multiple times, making everyone laugh at her expense. Later, we learn that Rose's family passed away a long time ago, and Chelsea's family adopted her, which is why Rose and Chelsea are very close, like sisters. After the meeting, Rose is surprised when her colleague Ayad approaches her. We find out that Ayad works as a photographer at the same place and invites Rose to attend a party with him that night. The party is a regular event Gunther organizes at the end of every month. Initially, Rose completely refuses because she doesn't like parties. However, she eventually agrees when she sees Ayad's insistence. We discover that Rose suffers from low self-esteem and considers herself less beautiful than other girls her age. She is puzzled by Ayad's determination to go out with her, yet she feels happy because she has secretly admired him for a long time but has never been able to express her feelings. Chelsea is thrilled when she learns they are going to the party together and helps Rose choose the right dress. It turns out that Chelsea used to work as a model, while Rose assisted Gunther with designs. At night, Rose arrives at the party and talks about how it was her dream to become a photojournalist, but the job is not financially rewarding, forcing her to take on other work. Rose, on the other hand, expresses her desire to become a successful fashion designer. She believes that clothing and fashion can completely transform a person's identity and give them confidence. Ayad admires her perspective and suggests she share it with Gunther, but Rose refuses outright. It becomes clear that she tries to avoid Gunther's gaze throughout the day. When Ayad asks her why, she reveals that she stole the dress she is wearing, which is one of Gunther's designs, to attend the party. A while later, Rose leaves to go to the bathroom, where she overhears two girls talking about her. One of them says that Chelsea asked Ayad to take Rose out because she feels sorry for her due to her lack of confidence and feelings of loneliness. Rose becomes devastated, and upon leaving the bathroom, confronts Chelsea angrily. Chelsea admits she did it with good intentions, but Rose is upset by the pity and decides to leave the party. Though Chelsea tries to stop her, Rose takes a motorcycle and drives off. Distracted, she gets into a major accident. A week later, Rose wakes up in the hospital, revealing that the accident caused severe injuries all over her body and left her in a coma. Chelsea stayed by her side the entire time, deeply worried about her. The doctor assures Rose that her condition is stable. He explains the bandages on her face, stating that she suffered injuries to her jaw and lost significant portions of her facial skin. They had to close the wounds with wires, meaning she will need reconstructive surgery. He also mentions that she sustained stomach injuries, resulting in a large scar in that area, and will have to follow a specific diet suitable for her condition. Despite the difficult situation, Rose insists on seeing her face. It becomes evident that the injury is severe, covering a large portion of her face, leaving her unable to speak. She has to write on paper if she needs something. Rose breaks down in tears, feeling like her life is falling apart. Gunther tries to comfort her, assuring her that he won't leave her side until she fully recovers. Rose is shocked to learn she has been fired from her job. Chelsea decides to take Rose to live with her until she finds another job. After weeks, Rose is discharged from the hospital, and Chelsea takes her home. Chelsea prepares all of Rose's favorite foods and tells her that Ayad frequently asks about her. He even helped Chelsea move Rose's belongings from her apartment to Chelsea's place. Rose starts preparing her own meals, but finds she can only eat through a feeding tube. While checking her email, she finds a message from Ayad, who wants to check on her, but she ignores it, still unable to forgive him for what happened at the party. Later, Rose receives an email from a cosmetic clinic offering to treat her. She reads about the place and learns they operate based on a theory called post-humanism, which posits that the human species can evolve beyond the limits of the mind and body. The Food and Drug Administration, FDA, has completely rejected this theory, which is why the clinic operates secretly. In exchange for experimenting on patients, they offer lifetime health insurance for them and their families. Rose decides to visit the clinic, which is run by Dr. William. He examines Rose and informs her that she is an ideal candidate for their program. The clinic was established specifically for cases like hers. Dr. William explains that they will perform an experimental procedure using stem cells. Rose hesitates, saying she can't afford the operation, but William reassures her that they won't charge her. In exchange, she must allow them to experiment on her. Rose is shocked to learn that she will be one of the first people to undergo this procedure, essentially making her a test subject. Despite her reservations, Rose agrees because she has no other options. She can't afford reconstructive surgery elsewhere, nor can she face society in her current state. The day of the surgery arrives, and the doctors and nurses wear strange outfits, even covering their faces, as if the procedure poses a risk to them. They implant a foreign object into Rose's cheek. A while later, Ayad visits Rose in the hospital. She has not not yet woken up from the surgery, he checks on her and leaves. As he exits, Dr. Williams stops him and asks to speak with him in his office, but nothing further is revealed. Later, Rose wakes up, and the bandages are removed from her face. She is shocked by the transformation in her appearance. The scars from the accident have completely disappeared, and her facial features are more beautiful than before. She is overjoyed to see that even the surgical scar has vanished, but she begins to feel intense pain in her stomach. At that moment, Rose hears a sound coming from the building's swimming pool area. When she goes to investigate, she finds a famous actor named Dom and learns he is being treated in the same place. And as soon as he tries to get close to her, he starts bleeding from his mouth. Rose gets scared, feeling like she is the cause, and runs to her room. The next day, William visits to check on her, and Rose tells him what happened with Dom. But William reassures her and convinces her that everything she saw in her dream has meaning. He allows her to go out since her condition has stabilized, on the condition that she doesn't miss her follow-up appointment. He gives her specific medication, mentioning that it has side effects and that if she feels tired, she should rest. The medication might also cause her to have hallucinations that are difficult to distinguish from reality. He also provides her with a specific drink to help with digestion. While out, she meets Chelsea for the first time since the surgery. Chelsea is shocked by the significant change and is happy that Rose will return to her normal life. One day, Chelsea leaves for work, and Rose, feeling bored, decides to occupy herself by drawing designs. She recalls Gunther's advice from when she first started working and adheres to it. While working, she is surprised by Iyad's visit. He is amazed by her new appearance and initially apologizes for what happened at the party. He then asks her out for dinner, but she refuses. He tries to schedule another meeting, but Rose lies, saying she is busy. It becomes clear that she has been avoiding him since the party. She takes the flowers from his hand and shuts the door. At night, the two girls return to the same place where the party was held. They encounter Gunther, who was leaving the venue. Upon seeing her and her designs, Gunther confirms that she is talented and decides to return to work. This excites the two girls and they decide to celebrate. During the celebration, Rose is surprised that the young men are the ones trying to approach them, unlike before. However, when she gets close to one of them, she is startled by her own behavior and begins to act strangely, injuring the man as if she were a ferocious beast. Fortunately, no one notices. Rose later wakes up in her room and assumes it was one of the hallucinations caused by the medication. She tries to calm herself down and then drinks the beverage for breakfast, finding that she enjoys it. At this point, we see Dom on a film set. That day, he suffers from a fever and gets into a fight with someone, during which Dom attacks and bites the person in a horrifying manner, tearing off part of his skin. The incident terrifies everyone on set, and they try to restrain Dom. At the same time, Rose experiences severe stomach pain, causing her to lose consciousness. When she regains consciousness, she feels completely fine but still hungry. She drinks the rest of the beverage, and while standing in front of the fridge, she notices a piece of raw meat. She is drawn to the sight of the blood on it and begins drinking the blood, enjoying it. When Rose realizes what she has done, she becomes terrified of herself and tries to call Chelsea, but Chelsea is at work and doesn't answer. Suddenly, Rose hears a commotion in the street. When she goes down to see what happened, she finds a young man harassing a girl. Rose pretends to be interested in him, and as soon as she gets into his car, she attacks and bites him. The next morning, Rose wakes up in her room, but this time she finds bloodstains on her bed. This confirms to her that it wasn't a hallucination. Rose is horrified and decides to meet with William. She tells him that every time she feels stomach pain, she begins to imagine harming people. William reassures her, saying it's all hallucinations and that the anesthesia affects one's appetite, causing people to crave foods they didn't like before. He suggests that this explains her newfound liking for drinking blood. Rose then returns to work, deciding to focus solely on her job and ignore everything else. That day, Gunther sees the designs she has been working on and is so impressed that he decides to include them in his new collection. He asks Rose to collaborate with him on designing the dresses, which excites and motivates her. Meanwhile, the person Dom bit undergoes cosmetic surgery on his face. However, as soon as he wakes up, he begins exhibiting symptoms similar to Dom's, behaving violently and biting a nurse. When the doctors try to restrain him, he bites them too. Due to the escalating situation, the Center for Disease Control is called in, and they diagnose the condition as rabies, which destroys the nervous system and drives the individual insane, making them a danger to themselves and others. Given the rapid and aggressive spread of the disease among patients, the hospital staff begins to feel threatened, deciding to immediately kill anyone who loses control to prevent further infections. The doctors explain that they must contain the situation before it spreads beyond the hospital, as it could become an uncontrollable epidemic. However, the chief doctor refuses to report the situation, fearing it would cause widespread panic among citizens. At the same time, Iyad visits Rose again and asks her out for the second time. This time, Rose agrees and begins to talk about her health condition, mentioning the hallucinations she has been experiencing but not going into detail. Iyad seems particularly interested in the specifics of her health condition and the complications of her surgery, which makes Rose suspicious. Suddenly, she feels unwell and goes to the bathroom, where she notices a strange creature in her mouth. Terrified, she decides to leave. leave, but before she can, the man Rose had bitten in the car attacks the venue, seeking revenge. He bites several people, but Iyad manages to subdue him. During the commotion, Rose leaves the venue. The next morning, she wakes up at home again, unable to remember how she got there and unsure if it was a nightmare or reality. When she tries to contact William, he doesn't answer, so she leaves him a message describing what happened. Later, Rose goes to prepare breakfast, but accidentally drops the bottle of the beverage. She is shocked to discover that the drink is actually blood. She decides to stop drinking it immediately. Meanwhile, preparations for the fashion show begin. On the second day, Rose meets Iyad for the first time since the incident and apologizes for leaving him. She explains that the medication makes her confused and unaware of her actions, to the point where she doesn't even remember how she got home. Iyad tells her that he was the one who took her home. Afterward, Gunther gathers all the models and announces that Chelsea will close the show wearing the dress designed by Rose. Both girls are thrilled, as this has been a long-time dream for them. However, the disease spirals out of control, prompting the declaration of a state of emergency. Citizens are advised to stay home and avoid contact with animals or humans exhibiting strange behavior. Despite the chaos, Gunther insists on proceeding with the fashion show at his institute. The fashion show begins, and Rose is surprised that Chelsea hasn't arrived. At that moment, she receives a call from William, who asks her to go to the clinic as soon as possible. Rose says she is currently occupied and cannot go, so she steps aside to try calling Chelsea. Chelsea eventually arrives and tells her colleagues that she doesn't have time. Meanwhile, two men notice her and start mocking her behavior while recording her. Suddenly, a strange creature emerges from Rose's body and bites one of them, causing him to fall to the ground and bleed. At that moment, Iyad arrives, hearing the commotion, and attacks the second man, deleting the video. He then takes off his jacket and tries to control the strange creature, successfully doing so as if he knows exactly how. He then injects Rose with a specific shot, carries her, and returns to the party. After a while, Rose regains consciousness, and Iyad wants to take her back to the clinic, but she refuses to leave before attending the fashion show. The show begins and goes well, but halfway through, Chelsea starts showing signs of transformation and begins attacking those present. Gunther also transforms. In a short time, the police arrive and kill all the infected, including Chelsea. Rose collapses in grief over her sister's death. Iyad forcibly takes her to the clinic, where they both talk to the doctor. Rose feels guilty and starts suspecting that what she is seeing is not hallucinations, but that she is the source of the global epidemic. William is pleased to learn that she hasn't eaten yet, so he locks her and Iyad in a room together and starts talking to them through the glass. It is revealed that Iyad had been working with William, who hired him to monitor Rose while she was outside the clinic. Iyad tries to defend himself, saying he did it because he didn't like her, but Rose doesn't believe him. William appears to be insane and throws a lot of blood on Iyad to tempt Rose into eating him, encouraging her to give in to her instincts. When she asks him what he has done, William begins explaining that he was working on an immortality experiment. He injected people with a specific substance to make them live forever, and the creature inside them would continuously evolve, ensuring their eternal survival. He believes his experiment is highly beneficial and that if applied to a small number of people, they could dominate the rest of humanity and other creatures while achieving immortality. He sees it as a worthy cause. At that moment, they are both shocked to find a strange creature in the room with them. It is part human and part terrifying monster. William reveals that it is his wife and that he failed to cure her cancer, so he donated her body for research until he found a way to keep her alive in this monstrous form. Suddenly, the creature emerges from Rose's body and attacks Iyad. Rose grabs a knife and separates the creature from him just as he is about to die. She then decides to take revenge on William by killing his wife, who is in the same room, and then kills herself. At that moment, an announcement is made that the epidemic has been contained and that anyone infected was euthanized, marking the end of the crisis. Soon, everything returns to normal. Later, William prepares a meal consisting of a raw meat piece and a glass of blood. He places it next to Rose and wakes her up. Rose is shocked to find that she is still alive, and even more horrified to realize that William's experiment succeeded on her. She can never die, no matter what she does. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button so you never miss an updates. See